Letter Eisenhower to GSP Jr., April 4th, 1942. Maybe I'll finally get out of this slave seat in Washington so I can let loose a little lead with you. By that time, you'll be the blackjack Pershing of the damn war. Letter. GSP Jr. to Eisenhower, April 13th, 1942. My feelings are identical with yours as to the pleasure of our being together. While I can appreciate your natural desires to quit your present job, I personally believe would be little short of a national calamity. However, being selfish, there is nothing I would like more than to be the blackjack of this war with you as Assistant BJ or even the other way around. In order to show due diligence, I am making my initial essay in desert operations tomorrow, which is 4 days after I got here, so that I have not let the cactus grow under my feet or seat either. Hoping to have a chance to serve against the enemy, and soon, letter GSP Jr. to Devers, April 15th, 1942. Our first march, which we completed this morning, was extremely instructive. Many mistakes were made, but on the whole, the performance was better than I had hoped for. It is too early to state definitely, but on the strength of this first experiment, the half-track performed in a superior manner. The 2.5-ton six-wheeler truck was very satisfactory. The 4x4 vehicle was satisfactory, and in bad going, the scout car of dubious value. Letter. GSP Jr. to Devers, April 16, 1942. I am usually asking for something when I write, so be prepared for a shock. I am writing to tell you how really splendid I think the Armored Force manuals are. I hope you will forgive my bombarding you with letters, but I feel that the success of this whole thing depends on keeping you fully informed of what we are doing. Patton set strict expectations for the troops soon after they arrived. Within a month, every soldier had to be able to run a mile in 10 minutes while wearing full equipment and carrying a rifle. Combat units were directed to focus entirely on tactical training rather than administrative work. The goal was to condition the men to operate in desert conditions for extended periods with very limited food and water, without losing effectiveness in battle. Letter. GSP Jr. to Lieutenant General H. Arnold, May 14, 1942. Please accept my most sincere thanks for your generous consideration in providing me with a much better airplane than I had dared hope for. I shall always appreciate your kindness in letting me have it. Letter. GSP Jr. to Colonel John B. Murphy, Armored Force, April 24, 1942. Today we have 4 columns out in the desert, and I am leaving shortly to join one and spend the night with it. This means that by noon tomorrow, every unit here has had one desert march, although we have only been here 15 days and are yet occupying temporary camps. After reading a prize-winning essay from the Naval Institute emphasizing strong leadership in wartime, Patton sent a note of praise to its author, Lieutenant Commander Ernest M. Eller. Letter. Eller to GSP Jr., July 3, 1942. The Allies' greatest need is for effective, aggressive leadership, the type, if you will permit my saying so, that you provide. I have from time to time seen mention and praise of your development of our armored forces. However important has been your contribution to their tactics and efficiency, the greatest thing you have put into them is your spirit. As a newspaper recently quoted you, you win war with guts, not machines. During this time, Patton also received a lot of correspondence from soldiers he had served with during the Great War. Letter. GSP Jr. to Reuben B. Shimitz of New York. Unless my memory is completely gone, you were the first man that got to me when I was wounded and laying in the minefield, and later you were partially blown up. I am sure you are the same man. As to getting into the service, I cannot hold out much hope because owing to your age, 48, you could not come in as an officer with less grade than lieutenant colonel, and your having had no military service since the World War would not justify such a promotion. I am very sorry, as I should like to have you with me again, for I had the highest opinion of your ability and demonstrated courage. Letter. GSP Jr. to Devers, April 28, 1942. I will arrange it so that during your presence here, we can have tactical exercises to show you what I have done and to secure the benefit of your tactical criticism. Unless you wish otherwise, I propose to keep administrative and housekeeping matters here to a minimum, spending as little time as possible on tidying up and as much time as possible on tactical and technical training. Patton informed one of McNair's staff officers that he planned to conduct a 3-day field problem centered on marching, supply, and coordinated operations. This would involve a task force of roughly 200 vehicles, which he believed was about the largest number manageable as a single unit. He was encouraged by the progress so far and expected soon to move into wooden offices, which would be a welcome change, since in the tents nearly everything, whether secured or not, had a tendency to blow away. He noted that morale among the men was very high. Gathering all officers together, he explained both his goals and his approach. It is a common belief that this force is going to Libya, Africa, Australia, or some other desert. You are going where you are sent, and no one knows where that will be. If you can work successfully here in this country, it will be no difficulty at all to kill the assorted sons of bitches you will meet in any other country. I know that for a soldier it is a very boring sport to ride around in tanks and not know why he is there. You are a very intelligent group of men, and I'm going to take some of your time to try to show you. Once he obtained a loudspeaker, he repeated essentially the same message to the enlisted men as well. He later wrote to Floyd Parks at AGF that several issues were in the wind and might require careful handling to avoid problems. One concern was a proposal to reorganize the Desert Center forces into a specialized armored division. He believed that if such an order came from AGF, Devers might interpret it, quite naturally, though incorrectly, as evidence that Patton himself had initiated it. This could place him in an awkward and potentially uncomfortable position. A second and more significant issue involved how armored vehicles should be marked. He discussed this topic at length. Finally, he felt so distant from the main centers of authority that he worried he might be overlooked entirely. When any fighting of real moment starts, please remember that I have commanded troops on maneuvers and with due modesty commanded them successfully for a longer period of time than any other general officer in the Army and probably in the world. I have gotten to the point where I am apt to urinate in the wash basin and try to wash in the urinal because I have forgotten what they look like. As usual, the priceless thoughts above are to be used by you according to your best judgment. The next day, he wrote to Eisenhower regarding the marking of vehicles. He was firmly convinced that every vehicle, whether tank, truck, or otherwise, needed clear identification so that any officer could immediately recognize its unit. At the time, this was not being done. He suspected intelligence concerns were the reason for the lack of markings, though he acknowledged that occasionally such secrecy might help prevent the enemy from identifying units. However, he argued that in practice, capturing a vehicle often meant capturing a soldier as well, and that prisoners could be persuaded to reveal information through various means not covered in regulations. Therefore, he believed the advantages of clearly marked vehicles outweighed any benefits of secrecy. Historical precedent, in his view, supported this conclusion. The very colorful uniforms, which, since the time of Gustavus Adolphus, have been worn, were for the purpose of knowing who was which. The Romans and the Greeks carried specific eagles or standards to the same end. The shoulder patch invented in the World War was devised because it was a demonstrated necessity to know to which division a man belonged. Heraldry was devised and became current only when the closed helmet was invented. Prior to that, people could recognize their friends and foes by their faces, because populations were small and men knew each other.